Hi my angels, it's Hailey Reese and I hope that you guys are having an absolutely fantastic morning, afternoon, night, whatever it is for you. When today's video finally reaches you, you guys, I am so nervous to share today's story with you because if you guys have been on my channel for a while now, you guys would know that one of the only things that I've ever looked into that has truly terrified me to my core was the black-eyed children. Actually, in fact, back when I researched that, I was still living at home and I had to go pick my uncle up from work at around 11 p.m. and I ran so fast to my car, locked my car doors, and like my heart was racing because something about black-eyed children has never sat right with me. So naturally, when I discovered a real black-eyed child encounter that's absolutely bone-chilling and has to do with their neighbor, I thought, why not bring it here on my channel, share it with you guys, and most importantly, get your guys' opinion on it, because I did briefly read it and I am just like full of millions of questions. So that is exactly what we're going to be diving into today. Before we get into today's video though, I would just very quickly like to thank today's video sponsor, Spotlight Oral Care. Now I can't even tell you guys how excited I am to be partnering up with them, because if you know me personally, you would know that I am very adamant on oral hygiene and oral care, and I really do my best to keep my teeth looking the absolute best they possibly can. Hence why I'm so excited to share Spotlight Oral Care with you guys, because I've been using their teeth whitening system and their sonic toothbrush for the past while, and I have seen tremendous results. So Spotlight Oral Care was created by two Irish dentists using clinically proven harm-free ingredients, and it's suitable for sensitive teeth. It's vegan, it's cruelty-free, toxin-free, sulfate-free, sustainable, packaging is fully recyclable, all of that good stuff. Now, one of the most important things for me with a teeth whitening system, and especially a toothbrush, is I want to make sure that it works well with sensitive teeth, because I do have very sensitive teeth, and I found that not only were the results amazing, but I really enjoyed how it left my teeth feeling great and not just looking great. It has a 70-day battery life, you guys, and 3 different speeds depending on what you're looking for. I personally use the sensitive speed most of the time because it just feels the best on my teeth, but I do like using the whitening one as well, and I just love that there's different options depending on what your teeth need. So if you guys would like to join the Spotlight tribe, I will have a link down in my description and a code there as well. You can click that link, use my code Hailey25, and receive 25% off your first order. So thank you so much to Spotlight Oral Care for sponsoring. I love how you've made my teeth feel. I really appreciate it. And without further ado, let's get into today's spooky video. So like I said, you guys, something about black-eyed children is very creepy to me. I actually say a lot that there's 2 specific things that really unsettle me, and that's when children turn terrifying in anything paranormal or supernatural, or anything of that nature, and also when cute little toys are actually evil or possessed. Those 2 things, I think it's that I wish they could preserve the innocence, and when it goes dark, it just freaks me out. So, without further ado, sit back, relax, maybe turn a light on, and let's get into this true black-eyed child story. So the headliner says, "My neighbor is a black-eyed child." I know what you're thinking when you read that sentence. I know you probably think I'm about to share some made-up story made for the movies or something. But what I'm about to share is 1,000,000% the truth. And I don't know what else to do except for ask for someone's advice or opinions. Around 9 months ago, I was in the worst financial position I'd ever been in. I'd just been laid off, and unfortunately, I'd never been one to save much money. They say when the storm comes, it keeps on rolling, and that's what was showing to be true for me, because I also found myself evicted from my apartment due to past due payments I just couldn't catch up on. I honestly thought for a minute that I was going to become homeless and had accepted that fate. I had around $1,500 to my name, and while it's better than nothing, I was certain I'd never find a place in the time frame I needed for that price. I decided checking sketchy online postings will be better than sitting around waiting for the worst. And that's when I discovered a duplex needing a tenant immediately. Clicking on it, it was very clear it was run down and in a rural part of town, but rent was only $700 a month, and while the house was attached to a neighbor, it all seemed like a steal to me. I asked to see the place as quickly as I could and had an appointment to see it the next day. At first, I had trouble finding it. It was down a long country road with no neighbors around. I assumed this was a big reason that it was so cheap, but when I got to it, it looked just like the pictures. I met the landlord and he seemed all right. Knowing I didn't have much choice, I immediately asked him if I could get a rental application. He seemed just as excited to get me in there as I was to have a place to live. Before driving away, I turned to the landlord and asked one question I wish I dug deeper on. "Oh, by the way, how are my neighbors here?" He looked at me for a moment before giving a side smile. "Don't worry about them. They're rarely ever seen." And with that, I left. I found out a few days later I'd gotten the place and suddenly felt like things could start looking up for me. I moved in, got settled, and tried to make it as homey as possible. A few weeks went by and everything was as you'd expect. I did take note though of the fact my neighbors never had a car, and I never saw them, but I actually grew to like the privacy. I was surrounded by fields, peace and quiet, two things that I never knew I needed so badly until I had them. Then it started. I can't even remember when it first happened, but at this point I do remember I was laying on the couch with a bowl of cereal. It had to have been after midnight. I should mention that my couch faces a big back window at the back of my place that looks into a field. I started to get this feeling of being watched. I couldn't shake it. It almost made me feel paranoid. Suddenly, I looked over to the window and saw a child peeking in. My backlight lit the child just enough for me to be able to make out her pale features, jet black hair, and eerily jet black eyes. Something about it felt like a horror film. I immediately jumped up and ran outside to see if I could find the child. The child was nowhere in sight. There were no lights on in my neighbor's windows either. Please remember that. This would be the first of many dark, peeking eyes. I decided to invest in some curtains, bracket, something I should have had already, end bracket. The next time I spoke with my landlord, I thought to bring up the child, and to my surprise, he told me he was positive it was the neighbor's kid and not to worry. Even still though, her pale skin and pits for eyes haunted me. This has been happening for 8 months now, only it's slowly gotten worse. Since I got curtains, occasionally the child will whine, asking to come in. When I go outside, I rarely see her, or I occasionally catch her running towards the back of the field. Please note, I have never seen my neighbors, ever. It's like they don't even exist. But that's where things get even eerier. A few weeks ago, I was coming home from a late, long drive. I do this sometimes to clear my head. As I pulled in, I noticed my neighbors actually had a dim light on in their window for the first time since I moved in. Looking up, nosily I admit, I was met with that little girl's face. Only this time, it was all the more obvious that she had eyes more black than the darkest sky. She let out the creepiest smile I've ever seen a child give, and then disappeared. I started looking into any possible answer as to who this child could be, but was always met with dead ends, until I discovered black-eyed children. How could my neighbor be a black-eyed child? She had the exact features. She even asked to come in. Do I even have real neighbors? I'm questioning everything at this point. I watched outside for a week straight, morning to night. No one ever left that house. How could they live there? The moment I stopped watching, in the night I heard, "Can I come in? Please, it's cold." But when I don't answer, she disappears. Before anybody comes for me saying there could be a child in need, please know that she disappears sometimes quicker than I can even get out the door. And honestly, it's made very obvious to me that she's not a real child at all. I guess I'm just desperately looking for some sort of answer. Maybe an explanation. My landlord doesn't answer anything when it comes to these questions. Surely someone can help me. I'm desperate and I don't know what will happen next if I keep living here, but I cannot afford to leave. Please help me. And that's the end. I don't know, you guys. Something about it is so eerie. Like when I first read this, my biggest questions were, okay, so if the child's been in the house, where are the parents if it's not something supernatural or paranormal. And beyond that, it's like, how could the landlord say that you do have neighbors, but they're rarely seen? And also say that he's fairly certain that that child is, in fact, the neighbor's kid. It almost makes me wonder, when I kind of reread the story and piece it all together, whether or not the landlord was living there and was experiencing this and just wanted someone in. So he dropped the price and moved him in and hoped that he would just go through it. I guess I really want to know what you guys think of this. Have you guys had any black-eyed children experiences? They do say that it tends to happen the further outside of the city you are, but I have been hearing that lately people have been having experiences in the city more so. So I'm really curious to hear what you guys think. Please leave your comments down below. And that is it for today's video. Once again, I would really like to thank Spotlight Oral Care for sponsoring today's video. And yeah, if you guys are new to my channel or you are just not yet subscribed but you do enjoy my videos, I would really appreciate it and love it if you would go ahead and click that subscribe button. Excuse me, sir. And please give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Remember, my loves, do all things with kindness, and until next time, I love you.